Welcome to Dare Education Awareness, where you can find the latest news on all Dare County schools, the Coastal Studies Institute, and the College of the Albemarle. We keep you informed, entertained, and up to date on education in Dare County. A film about Glen Ewer's Holy Redeemer Stations of the Cross has a premiere night.
Hi, I'm Tim Sweeney from the College of the Albemarle. I'm the Dean at the Dare campus, and tonight was a premiere film about the great Glen Ewer. And what a night it really was to celebrate his life, but also to teach our students and our faculty and the community about the great work that Glen did here in our community. And one of the things that we celebrated tonight was the Stations of the Cross. Very emotional night. It really got the emotions out of our community. Our churches were here, all denominations, and our community members, commissioners, county commissioners, and what a night for the College of the Albemarle to celebrate such a great person as Glen Ewer.
I'm Linda Lauby, president of Outer Banks Press, and an old friend of Glen and Pat Ewer, whom I met about 30 years ago when I first moved to the Outer Banks. Through those years, Glen and I did many art projects together. It's been a great turnout here tonight to watch this magnificent film, and I know that Glen would be so proud and so pleased of this effort, and he would be thanking everybody who has been involved in it and actually promoting all of your talents instead of his own. But as you can see by the product, his talents were many.
This idea to honor Glen Ewer actually came from the Arts Council and Chris Saywin. Chris contacted me, and at that point I wanted to see what our instructors at the College of the Albemarle felt about it. So we had a discussion at a meeting with the art teachers, and they recommended even the English teachers, instructors get involved. So the students did all the research about Glen. It was not only about the research about the art of the artist, but it was also research about the man, who he was, his service to his country. And during that service, in representing, not only his family and his country, but his community here was just fascinating to learn. We're happy that Current TV is going to be showing this, and we're also going to be showing this film throughout our curriculum here at Dare campus for generation after generation, and to honor not only Glen Ewer's legacy, but the art community here that we value so much.
I love that this film was not just about Glen, but it had a strong educational component. If you look at the early photos from our Kids Art Festival, Outrageous, which is now in its 30th year, you'll see pictures of Glen on the back of a pickup truck auctioning off artwork to really help fund the Arts Council in its early stages. So from the moment he arrived on the Outer Banks, Glen and Pat were both all about education in the arts for the kids of Dare County.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm speechless now, and that doesn't usually happen too much. You can talk to my students, and they say I talk all the time, but again, on behalf of Father Walsh and Holy Redeemer Church and everybody here, Glen will live, and his legacy will live through the College of the Albemarle, through this church and these stations forever. And that's what this is about tonight, Glen Ewer's legacy. So thank you all so very much for coming tonight and sharing this wonderful, wonderful gentleman. Thank you.
Learn more about Manio Elementary School's guidance counseling.
So when we're whole body listening, our eyes are pointed at the teacher or at the TV as Sam's talking.
We feel that the work that we've done over the past several years in social and emotional learning have a lot to do with the success we've had as a school. We have to look at the entire child. make sure that the children's basic needs are being met as best we can meet them. And one of the ways we do that at our school is we directly teach students strategies to help them manage anxiety, help them manage stress. Our counselors do a phenomenal job of working with their students. They see every student in our school every other week for some direct instruction and character education and things like that. And our focus on social and emotional learning is what we credit a lot of our academic success in our school.
So is his brain growing? No.
For the last 4 years, I have sat on the SIT team, which is the school improvement team. And every year we have made SEL, or social emotional learning, part of our overall school goal and success. And so we have collected data on that, and the data proves that it's working.
Our main goal is that we want the children to be ready for life, that they're not only going to be academically successful, but they're going to be successful socially.
So we have mindful skills that we learn every time we come to guidance, and we review what we've already learned, and then we add one and we build upon it. So what I teach is how to calm themselves, how to recognize they're not calm, and then they can make a better choice.
So when people get mad and stuff and they don't feel like listening, they come over here to brain break section. They squeeze the ball. They can write pictures, and they have to flip this over so how long they can do it. And they have something to cuddle with, and they have something else to cuddle with. It helps a lot.
We talk about when our brains are in a growth mindset, then they're ready to learn. And their brains are like muscles, and that's when they're exercising their muscles and they can take in new information and they can feel happy and peaceful. And when they're in a fixed mindset, that's when they're maybe having some of those negative emotions or thoughts, and their brain freezes and they're not ready to learn.
Growth mindset helps me be positive. You're not just down about everything. You can say, I'm not there yet, I'm getting there.
So in the lower grades, they tend to learn a little bit more of the techniques. Then when they get in the upper grades, we teach that again, to reteach it, but also to take it another step further. How can I actually use this in my day-to-day? How can I use this in the future? How can I make the best decisions for me? And we look a little bit more at like reaching our goals, and also how did that affect me when I made that choice? Did that work for me or didn't it work for me? What can I do differently?
We have to focus on the social emotional side of students and address those needs before we can even think about addressing academic needs. You see it across the building, and you see it in lots of different ways, not merely through direct instruction in a particular guidance classroom.
What I believe that this means for our whole school is that we have healthier, happier children, that they're more stable in their emotions, that they are more calm in their bodies, and that they're better able to learn when they come here.
Now, we actually are part of the specials rotation. And although my degree isn't in teaching, I absolutely love it because I now get to meet and reach every single child. I get to teach them things to do about anxiety, test-taking skills. We get to let every child know they're unique, they're special. And I really enjoy being a part of the specials rotation. I'm glad that it's acknowledged that the guidance, teaching children how to do their, help themselves socially and emotionally is, it's so important to success in school and in life.
A couple of things we've seen. Academically, of course, and I love talking about this, but academically, all of our indicators are moving in the right directions. Our students are exceeding growth. Our reading proficiency, our math proficiency, our science proficiency are the highest they've been. The social emotional piece of that, we think, really has contributed to that. Secondly, we've noticed a huge downturn or reduction in the number of office referrals to come to our office. That's a kid does something that needs some sort of disciplinary action by the administration. Those visits were down about 45% last year. So, and that's significant. That's real. That's not just an off year. That's amazing results. So, we credit our focus on social emotional elements of our school improvement plan to addressing that, and we're seeing the results of that.
Up next, meet Kimberly Rodgers, a new faculty member at CSI.
My name is Kimberly Rodgers. I'm an assistant professor of coastal studies at ECU's Outer Banks campus. I was excited about coming to the Coastal Studies Institute. First of all, to be a coastal scientist actually living on a coast was pretty cool. I moved here from Boulder, Colorado. And I really was excited about the possibility of contributing to the growth of the program and its focus on interdisciplinarity in particular, and recognizing that so many people live along the coastline, and so you cannot extract the human dimensions when you're studying the landscape, the coastal landscape. It's difficult work to incorporate social science and physical science, but it's what's necessary to really understand what's happening in our coastal areas. Social science is the study of human society, human behavior, decision making, those types of human process. It could also be how cultures guide the way people make decisions. Natural science is the study of, say, earth process. Here in an oceanographic setting, we would say natural science would be the study of the waves, the study of tides, the studies of the sediments that form our beaches. And you put those two things together, and what you are looking at is not only a blending of methods to understand both that social aspect and the natural aspect, but also a more complete understanding of the processes that are shaping our coasts. For instance, here in North Carolina, one of the things I'm interested in learning more about is the way many of the agricultural communities outside of the Outer Banks, what we call the Inner Banks, how they're coping with increased salinization of their soils. What type of additional steps are they having to take that may in turn be causing unintended consequences or feedbacks that may not be immediately visible. And one of the tools that I'm using to do that is numerical modeling, agent-based modeling, which allows me to basically take decision-making criteria and use those as rules as though I'm programming a game. And you can run the model based on both rules of physics, the laws of physics, or maybe I go out and I measure salinity, or I go out and measure what the concentration of sediment is in one of our coastal rivers. And I include that as one of the rules in my model, as well as, say, data that I've collected from talking with people. And I put those things together in the model and then let them run and see how they interact. I also use quite a bit of traditional sedimentological methods, which basically means that I have ways of going out and measuring mud in an environment. I particularly, unlike the Outer Banks, which is primarily sand, I use pretty low key technology actually to measure sedimentation in marshes and in wetlands around the world. For instance, one of the things that I tend to use are very simple ceramic tiles that you can deploy in a wetland marsh, say before a storm. Leave that tile there and come back after the storm and collect it and measure how much new sediment has been deposited. One of the things I'm most interested in with coastal North Carolina is working on the inner banks, working on those coastal rivers that feed into our estuary. We have the second largest estuarine system in the United States here, and there's a lot of people who live along that 10,000 miles of coastline. And a lot of attention is given to the very in-your-face dynamics of the wave activity on the barrier island, and that's really important. But there's a lot of people and a lot of water behind that depend on the coastal ecosystems and depend on that and are influenced by that. So that's really what I'm most interested in getting into here in North Carolina, getting out and talking with people, talking with the fishermen, and what kind of changes have they seen over the last, say, decade or a couple of decades? What are the farmers seeing here? I think that Coastal Studies Institute is uniquely poised to be a leader in both interdisciplinary coastal education as well as coastal science, both internationally as well as locally for here of the people of the Outer Banks.